Welcome back to the Weekends Overrated. It's your host again, Don Dollar. Again, do want to thank those who've been checking out our videos. Be sure if you haven't to go check out some of the videos we've put up so far. As it is our goal to grow this channel, so make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. We will appreciate that greatly. Um, Next topic I wanted to segue into was the blind eye that I feel like majority I hate speaking in general terms, but I just want to say a good amount of people are turning as it pertains to this epidemic of like the young black population, but I'll say more so males, but females as well. And it's just this whole like aesthetic of like the ski mask, like the dressing in all black. Yeah, a lot of the senseless activities that go on. And it's all combined with like the accelerated childhood of the young black male and the premature adulthood that all at the end of the day just results in no future. And this whole killing for sport, and it's almost like commercialized genocide, because when people be like YNs, me personally, I hate it. I don't like it at all, because I feel like people still say it is a term that I grew up hearing when something, I guess you could say it was on the shameful side. People would say that's not cute, right? Now I wouldn't say that, but for those who understand what that term would be applied to, I think it's applicable here. When it comes to our future, if you just kind of go through and look at the analytics, you can do it state to state. You can do it on the East Coast, down South, down West, Midwest, maybe even international. And when you start to look at the amount of young black males that are victims of, you know, murder, the numbers are, I mean, if you go over like a 10-year span, we're losing generations. Me myself, I've experienced loss in my family, and I think age was around for anywhere from like 17 to like 23. And when people have I guess like a lighthearted approach to it, where they'll joke or say like the YNs, or they'll make like a funny reference to it. To me, I don't really see the humor in it, because when you have a whole generation or two or three, because they having kids younger and younger, when you have a whole generation where nobody aspires to do anything productive as it pertains to the future. Everything is in the now, and it's all destructive. Like, just think about it. Why are you wearing a ski mask all year round? Like, what type of image are you trying to portray? What are you trying to project into into society? And I feel like this is a conversation this is an in-house conversation. So this is something that I feel like we need to discuss amongst ourselves as black people. I'm not really, this isn't a if it doesn't apply, you gotta go sit outside on this one. But just the whole standard, or lack thereof, when it comes to our youth, it's disgusting. I mean, I don't really know how else you can describe it, because when you're not prioritizing, scholarship, as in, reading, writing, understanding the simple things, because when you start to look at the amount of our young black males that can't even read on grade level, who don't even understand the simple functions of a checking account, or debit card, or what the difference between that and like a credit card is, or simple manners. When an elderly person is anywhere in the vicinity, just kind of knowing how to operate and navigate. When kids are around, and I understand. When it's when the fellas, but that's separate from what's going on day in and day out. I was at a Wawa a couple months ago, and I just seen like 15 young dudes come in, and everybody just looks like, I don't know if it was a robbery. I don't know if I was at a Wawa. I don't know where I was at. Like, it looked kind of crazy in there, and when I see that, the reason why I titled this segment a blind eye, because none of this just started. When the father abandons the post, and the post is to be there to provide that tutelage and that guidance for the baby that grows into was a baby, toddler, kid, teenager, so on and so forth, to give them the lessons and the steps in life into becoming a man. When the father abandons that post, it's a free for all. And even if the mother is doing the best that she can, it's not enough, because only a man can teach a man how to be a man. That's it. There's no other equation when it comes to that. And when you think about when the ball gets dropped by the father as far as abandoning that post, when you think about the uncles, when you think about some of the males, that older cousins, so on and so forth, there's so many people that are just seeing this behavior develop over a period of time, and it goes unaddressed. People will, again, they'll laugh, they'll make light of it, they'll make it seem like it's something to be proud of, when it's the complete opposite. And now we got to a point where people throw out the term, "Oh, it's getting out of hand," or this generation is the worst, or I feel like a more productive conversation can be had, because, again, you don't look at today's behavior, you look at the timeline and how that behavior was developed. You look at when that I'm not saying it as in how I say, but for the purposes of the conversation, when you look at a YN when they're 3 and 4 and 5 years old, and they're seeing a lot of, how can I put this? They're seeing a lot of behavior that's not it's not progressive. Like, that behavior doesn't progress into anything productive, right? They're seeing a lot of idiot behavior. And as they grow older, that's what they're in their mind, that's how they're rationalizing how it's supposed to go, how they're supposed to act, you know, off of impulse, not critical thinking, being overly emotional. And now, like I said, getting to the point where this whole killing for sport thing, like, that's a real thing. Like, and again, it's a 2-for-1 special, because let's say one black male kills another black male. One goes in the ground and one goes to the jail. And then that cycle is repeated over and over and over and over again. So I think, you know, my thoughts is, I feel like it's time for that eye that likes to, keep acting like it's not seeing what's going on. I feel like now would be a great time. There's no time like the present to just take a moment and really evaluate and address things that you see going on around you with your loved ones, because it starts at home and it starts with the family. So if you got a son, if you got a nephew, if you're a teacher, if you got a student, if your kids have a friend that you kind of see veering off, you know obviously you can't control every little thing. It may be some things that are out of your control, but at least addressing it, at least bringing it up, at least making it like it's important. Because again, we're losing generations. We've lost generations all over the country. Like I said, from the west to the east to the north to the south. We're losing generations continuously by this commercialized genocide. You can't really call it anything else. You know, you got Nike selling ski masks. They're not selling ski masks because it's cold, even though it is cold right now, but they're not selling that for any other reason because they know that it's a popular, fashion trend right now, but they're not paying attention to all of the things that are beyond that. Like, I bet you if these shiesties or ski masks that, the young black males are wearing, let's just say if another young male group was wearing those, right? And they were, doing things um, that weren't life valuing to another group. I don't think that they would be, so quick to say, hey, let's put these out, let's sell this, let's make some money off of this. So that's all I really had, on that topic. You know, I feel like this is a strong call for, those who know better and understanding when you know better, you got to do better to, do all that's within your power so that we can start steering the young black male population in a better direction. I don't like to say right or wrong. I just like to say a better direction, a productive direction. Because again, how are we going to grow as a people if our future is getting cut out? The youth is in the babies. They're getting cut out, you know? So I just wanted to touch on that. That was on my mind because you see it so often, um, and again, I feel like that's something that again any adult, any person with a rational understanding on what is a good idea and what is a bad idea as it pertains to behavior and how you present yourself and your thought process and just your representation, like when you walk out the house, you know how are you presenting yourself to the world. So that's all I got for today. Peace.